Hi everyone, this is your host Sayyid Irfan Ajmal with another episode of the SIA Business Podcast. And today we are going to talk about a topic which has been of massive interest for me over the last, I would say, couple of years. I do have to admit that my experience with digital PR is quite limited. I am by no means an expert, but I like to think that I have studied a bit about it over the last couple of years, and I have also tried to incorporate some of the positive aspects of digital PR or online PR in our SEO and content marketing work. Also, since I have been a columnist for different publications, including Forbes and Huffington Post, Business.com, and quite a few others, I have been on the receiving end of a lot of pitches and press releases and emails sent by PR agencies and PR professionals and even startups and companies. So I think I am now in a position to share a bit about what the key differences between digital PR and SEO are. So, first of all, let's speak about what digital PR is, what SEO is, and how both of these are similar in some ways. Okay. Now, digital PR is, as I understand it, about using the power of online media to get publicity for your clients. In other words, it's about using different tactics in an online context to try to have other people talk about the brand of your client. So rather than you guys talking about the client's brand, you want other people and the media to take the client seriously and get excited about it and talk about it and write about it and stuff like that. So that's how digital PR is, at least in my opinion, right? SEO is about making sure that instead of using a paid channel like Facebook PPC ads or Google AdWords or native ads or even something like TV or radio ads, so rather than using any of those channels, what SEO wants to do, the goal of SEO is to leverage the free traffic that Google can send to any traffic. So there are, I think, trillions of searches being done on Google.com, which is the largest search engine, and it's the primary search engine that is getting used in most countries, with the exception of maybe Russia or a few other countries. So there are trillions of searches being done every year via google.com, I believe. I think it's 1.2 trillion per month, I believe. So SEO is about making sure that you convince Google's algorithms that if someone is searching for, a budget video camera or, a budget DSLR camera or something like that, and you are selling that camera, or you have a guide which helps people on deciding which camera would be the ideal one for them, then your job as an SEO is to convince Google that your content piece on that topic is the best, and hence it should rank your content piece at the first position within Google search, right? So the way you do it is dependent on 200 plus factors, as I often used to say. And this may include things like your website's mobile responsiveness, how quickly your page loads. It may include things like whether people who end up on your content piece, whether they spend a lot of time on it, or they go back to Google search results instantly. If they go back instantly, then that's a signal for Google that, okay, this page is maybe not so relevant for this particular keyword, or this content piece is not so relevant. But the biggest factor, as I often mention, is backlinks. So, backlink is when another website would mention one of the URLs of your website, right? So, if your website is www.xyz.com and bbc.com mentions that, here is a content piece published on, www.xyz.com or www.xyz.com/infographic, then that means BBC has given you a backlink, right? So backlinks are the biggest factor that contribute to getting you to the top of the results. And what that does is that it gets you more traffic, it gets more people on your website, and it can then increase your leads, sales, and revenue. And of course, that has to do with a lot of other factors as well, like the quality of your products and the prices and the checkout process, whether it's complicated or whether it's simple. Yeah. So now I would say that both digital PR and SEO, the focus is to get their client growth, I guess, but in different ways. PR is more about publicity and promotion and media citations. But based on my limited experience that I have had, I think that PR at times can be a bit more aggressive and promotional. I'm not saying all of them do that, but based on the very small sample set that I have, based on the tons of emails that I get like almost every week or every day, I kind of feel that it's more focused on sort of, promotional methods, right? So like for instance, I get press releases and there is no other mention of, like how that PR professional got my email address or why do they think that this press release is relevant to me. It's just a mass email which is probably sent to hundreds of other people and I'm one of them. And in 99% of cases, I have no interest in even reading that extremely promotional, commercial, self-serving press release about how this company is, the Uber of XYZ industry, or how this startup is the Airbnb of the laptops industry or something like that, because I just don't see how that's relevant to me. And it's pretty clear in most cases that the person who has sent me that press release does not care about me, does not respect me, has not taken the time to do any kind of research about what I like to write about, who I am, what my interests are, what kind of content do I share or link to or write about or promote or anything like that. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would have this same experience with SEOs as well. And I do admit that a lot of times many SEO professionals would make the same mistake where they will not have done proper research to build a prospect list which is relevant. So I was listening to this podcast episode, and I think it's the episode number 105 on the Experts on the Wire SEO podcast, and the guest was, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, it was Giselle Navarro, who works, I believe, at Neomum. And I really liked what she said about, like if their agency is working on a content piece about, the top 10 endangered animals, then what they will do is that they will divide them by states, right? So, top endangered animals of California and top endangered animals of Alabama and so on. And then what they do is that when they are doing prospecting, they don't just make a massive list of all the states that they covered in their content piece. Instead, what they do is they divide that prospect list according to the states, right? And so the journalists and the bloggers who live in California are told that we know that you write about wildlife and endangered animals, things like that. So we thought you would be interested in finding out what are the top endangered animals in your state, California, right? So that makes the email outreach more customized and personalized and specific and targeted, right? So that makes sense. And but it is true that a lot of the time SEOs make the same mistake, which I mentioned about digital PR with respect to outreach, but they have their own way to make that mistake, right? And we are going to talk a bit about the pros and cons of a digital PR and SEO, or not pros and cons, but maybe the top few things that digital PR professionals do good, and the top few things which the digital PR people are not too good at, perhaps. And similarly, the few things that SEOs are good at and maybe not so good at. Okay. Because the reason for this episode is that there is a lot that digital PR professionals can learn from the SEO professionals and vice versa. So that's what makes it super interesting for me to try to understand the good and the bad side of both sides, or the strengths and the weaknesses of people who are on both sides. and to see how they can learn from each other and benefit from each other, right? Another interesting similarity between SEO and digital PR, I would say, is that what we call in the SEO world as a guest post, by which we mean, writing for another publication's website as a guest author. It has been practiced much longer by PR professionals as well. It's just that they tend to call it bylines or byline articles. And from what I understand, the PR world treats these bylines as a good strategy to establish one's self as an expert and authority within one's industry by writing for relevant publications, whether it's mainstream media, or in case of conventional PR professionals who may not be digital PR professionals, they may get their clients on TV or radio. So the benefit of that is that you start to get seen and recognized and respected as a credible media source, right? Let's say you want to get on Forbes and you want to write for Forbes, or you want to get quoted on Forbes. Now, why would Forbes take a chance on you? The chances of them taking a chance, trusting you, are limited if you have no sort of other media mentions, on smaller sites or similar sites or something like that. So it's always good to start from somewhere, even if it's a small trade journal of your local town, getting mentioned there or writing for them as a guest author, or writing a byline article for them, like I said, is a good way to, attract the attention of larger media outlets within your industry, right? Now, SEOs do guest posting as well, and I'm sure that a lot of the SEO professionals didn't know that there is something called byline articles, which is pretty much the same thing that SEOs are doing. But byline articles has been there much longer, and it has been practiced by the PR industry for a long, long time. Now, the SEOs do guest posting, but their aim is typically focused on just getting those backlinks. Okay. They are not focused on establishing the client's brand as a thought leader or a credible media source, right? So I'm going to speak a bit more about that in a moment. I think I have covered so far what digital PR is, what SEO is, and some of the key similarities between both of these super interesting strategies. Now, PR, based on my personal experience, I think PR people can be better at crafting a story. I think they're much more good at coming up with a story and writing it extremely well. I think they're really good at that. Sometimes when I check out a press release and read that story and find out how they have, crafted that story and try to, relate to some of the emotions that their target audience, the journalists and reporters and writers, etc., may have, it sounds so interesting. And I think PR people, because they're coming from a communications background, I suppose, and a lot of them may be former writers or, part-time novelists or something. They may have qualifications like, MA English or Masters in Journalism, Communication, etc. I think it makes them much better at that. I also think that they are more confident when it comes to contacting high profile influencers and experts of the industry. I think they are more at ease when it comes to contacting the big names of the industry, the big names of the target field. I can be wrong, but that's what I think. Now, a couple of, I think, weaknesses of a lot of PR professionals that I have sort of observed. I think the biggest one is that they typically don't understand and value the benefit of a backlink. They don't understand what that is. I suspect that they even think that it's something spammy or something low quality, or it has to do with, something bad, like something low quality, which is beneath them. When the fact of the matter is that there is nothing wrong if you're getting a backlink. In fact, it only makes your site stronger. If I have a blog and I'm a small blog owner, let's say, so if I'm getting backlinks from Forbes and Harvard Business Review and New York Times and New York Post, then that's good for me, because that means that Google will start to see me as a more credible blog, and that will help me get ranked much higher in Google search results. And once Google starts to see my blog as a credible one, my blog will start getting ranked for important in demand keywords, which means my blog will start to get more traffic and hopefully more leads and sales and revenue, right? So, like I said, PR professionals don't understand and value the benefit of a backlink in most cases, and perhaps they also think that it's something too complicated or something too confusing. But the truth of the matter is that there is no need to make it too complicated, and it is something that PR professionals can benefit from a lot, especially PR professionals who focus on digital media and who specialize in digital PR or online PR. Another con, I think, is that sometimes PR professionals can be too promotional. So they are really good at getting in touch with those influencers and experts and big shots of their target industry. But if they stop being that promotional and take the time to build a relationship, it can benefit them more. What I mean by that is that too often, and this is, like I said before, this is based entirely, almost entirely on my own personal experience, that PR professionals can, contact you via LinkedIn or email, and, just the very first mail would be about, something like, hey, can you write about my client, and, or, copy paste. Here's a, they just copy paste the press release. I mean, I don't know you. So, maybe you can just let me know where you got my information from, or how do you know me, or why do you think this is relevant to me. And even if you take the time to tell me that, maybe it's not such a good idea to make a demand from me in your very first email. So what I have done in the past a couple of times, I don't see myself as a massive PR expert or anything like that. But what I have done in the past a few times is that in order to establish a relationship with the journalist, I would, just ask them, what is it that you're working on, and they may be working on something which has nothing to do with my client story and my client's brand, but I would still help that journalist by telling them, hey, I know someone who may be relevant to you, and here is their brief profile. They're not my client or something, but if you think their story or their profile is relevant to you, I would be happy to connect you to them. And 9 out of 10 times the journalists are really happy for me to connect them to such a person, but I always make sure that I get their permission first, before I connect them to someone. Now, I help them by connecting them to a source which may be relevant to their story, and I help that source as well. And that is how you build relationships. You don't build relationships by contacting a stranger and your first email says, hi, can you write about my client, or here is a press release, go and publish that. you know that's not how relationships work. It doesn't work like that in conventional, I mean, in analog life, and it doesn't work like that in digital life. Take your time to know the person. Treat them like a human being. Try to take an interest in what they are working on, what excites them, what is it that they are focused on, what is it that they are reading, what is it that they are writing. Once you do that, and help them in even some really small manner, like it may be you connecting them to a source, it may be you telling them about an idea. You may have seen that in a recent content piece, they wrote something which was like a bit outdated statistic or something. And maybe if you think that they will not get offended or something, because obviously they are the experts at their job, so I mean, you can't tell them how they can do their job. But if you are really nice, and if you have built a relationship, maybe you can tell them that, I'm not sure if you know that there is a more updated statistic about this topic, and I can share it with you if you want, like something like that. So, like Gary Vee says, and I'm paraphrasing, that you have to give, give, give before you make an ask. So try to help them a few times before making an ask. I mean, they're not on your payroll that you just bombard them with press release and expect to get published. I don't know if that works. I don't think that it would work. And even if that works, I think the benefits of something like that working, as opposed to you building a relationship, taking the time to build a relationship, trying to understand the other person, treating them as a human being who has likes and dislikes and who has challenges, and helping them out before making your own selfish ask. I think that would work much better. So I think that has become a bit of a rant on my part. I think it's a really important concern for me. And my sample set, like I said earlier, can be a very small one. I do get tons of emails, but I have yet to see someone who tries to take from the PR industry. I have yet to find maybe more than one or two people who take an interest and try to build a relationship, unfortunately. And mass emails, like especially when the email, which, I mean, it's pretty easy to see that it's a mass email because you get a gut feeling for that, right? It's pretty easy to see them. And in most cases they just copy paste the press release. I mean, why are you doing that? You got the email address of a person, and you know that he's writing for application that you want your client to get on. So why not take the time to really understand what they are working on and see how you can help them, rather than just copy pasting a press release and sending that press release, or just asking them right in the first interaction on LinkedIn that, hey, can you write about my client? They make these organic socks or something. And then on top of that, the worst thing that I have experienced is getting irrelevant press releases. 99% of the press releases that I get are extremely irrelevant. So I think that's something that a lot of these people who do PR have to learn. Again, my sample set is pretty small. I would be happy to be proven wrong. I'm sure there are a lot of really good people. I'm sure there are a lot of really good agencies out there who come up with really good ideas, and I have come across some. So this is not a critique of PR on anything. I think there are a lot of pros and cons of a lot of strengths and weaknesses of both digital PR and SEOs. And like I said earlier, it's all about, for me, it's all about, okay, learning what can I do to get inspired from both and come up with a strategy which helps our agency's clients grow using the best practices of both these domains. Now, with SEOs, the pros I would say are that they are good at backlinking. Typically, they understand the importance of a backlink. They know that it is going to increase the authority, at least in the eyes of Google, and that is going to improve the client's keyword rankings, and that will in turn lead to more traffic and more revenue. Cons, I would say, is that sometimes they can be too much focused on the backlink, and that may make them be blinded to the larger opportunity that awaits them. Now, what I mean by that is, sure, without a backlink, without a do follow backlink, especially, you are not getting immediate gains, right? SEO is already pretty slow, but if you're not getting a do follow backlink, then it can be much more slower. That's true. But the thing is that you don't have to always focus on a do follow backlink alone. So you have to focus on the long game here, right? The long term benefits here. So, for instance, I was recently quoted in Forbes, and I already write for Forbes as well. I was quoted on Forbes, and the writer, although she had linked to the websites of other sources, she, for some reason, didn't link to my blog. Now, I don't feel happy about it. But if she reaches out to me again, or if I see, a request from her for a source, I wouldn't mind contacting her again, because for large publications, for publications which are extremely relevant to my audience, my target audience, and my industry, I don't really care too much about links, because the thing is, even if I just get mentioned, if it's just my name that gets mentioned on Forbes and I don't get a backlink, I don't mind that, because I can still use that win to get my foot in the door of another publication. And that other publication may give me a do follow back link. Maybe they will do a feature about me. Maybe they will think of doing a much larger collaboration with me. So you have to look at the larger context. And I think that sometimes SEO professionals can be so focused on backlinking and backlinks, and especially do follow backlinks, that they lose sight of the bigger picture. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you have to make sure that you are collecting fuel along the way, right? You are collecting small wins along the way, even if it doesn't mean it's a backlink, right? Now, will I do the same if it's a super small publication? If it's not taking a lot of time, and I know that they may not give me a backlink, then I will probably do it. But if I don't have the time, or if I can see that, okay, it's not a large publication, there is not a lot of activity in the comment section or something like that. There is not a lot of quality content on the website. The SEO KPIs of the site are not high, and their demands on the other side are pretty high. Like if they're asking for like a 2 hour interview or something, or even 1 hour, I'll probably not have the time to do it. So it depends on where you are in your journey as it relates to the SEO world and the digital PR world. But I think you have to be focused on the long term relations here. And also, since I spoke so much about some of the weaknesses of some PR professionals, I will mention at least one more problem with SEOs as well. So I think sometimes they can be too quick to do research. So sometimes I will get an email, and it's pretty clear from how they mention my name. I have a bit of a weird long name, I know, but still, when they make a mistake with that, I can, pretty much be clear that, they have had some low cost web researcher from like Philippines or Pakistan or India or something, and they didn't take the time to do their research right and get the information right. Okay. So, like, my name is Sayyid Irfan Ajmal, and my logo says SIA. So that stands for my full name. Sometimes I would get an email, and I believe that in most cases it's an SEO guy who would call me SIA, when SIA is not my name or anything. It's an abbreviation of my name, and actually it's also an abbreviation of something which is pretty related to our industry, and that's spotlight, influence, and authority, right? Another mistake that SEO professionals can make while doing outreach is using misleading subject lines. So, they may put, RE at the start of their subject line so that it looks like they are replying to something I sent them, right? When it's not the case. So I think there is no need to be misleading. You just want to be, honest and be very clear about, what you are doing, right? There is no need to fake it. There is no need to be misleading. You just have to stay honest, I think. And I think that SEOs can definitely learn from PR professionals on how to be better at crafting stories and how to engage the reader in much better ways. Just using, a template that 1,000 other SEO professionals are using for your type of link campaign is not really smart. And the minute you see that kind of a template that everyone else is using, it's very clear to you that these guys have not really put in a lot of effort. They are just doing it in a robotic fashion. They are not trying to be creative. They're not trying to stand out, and they don't understand the negative impact of just copy pasting a broken link outreach template or a guest post template that everyone else is using. And if they study a bit and if they try a bit, they can pretty easily come up with more unique outreach emails. And also, I think just because you are doing outreach to get a backlink, you shouldn't write a guest post which is not a quality one. I have to reject a lot of guest posts because and recently I got a guest post from a pretty large company, and their DR, or domain rating, this is an SEO KPI. So their DR is about, I think, 80 plus, and the guest post that I got is extremely ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand how they can allow such a guest post on anyone's site, because it reflects badly on their brand as well. The lady whose name appears as the author, I don't think she wrote it. I think they had outsourced it or something, and it's an extremely low quality guest post. There are no images, there are no statistics, there is no practical insight within that article, there is nothing interesting. It's just a vague, generic 700 word piece of garbage which has just one backlink, and that backlinks, obviously that backlink points to this company's website. So I mean, I know that your job, your mission is to get a backlink for my site, but just put in some more effort. Just add some more images, write something more valuable rather than extremely generic content like, hey, you should install Google Search Console, and remember to study your Google Analytics data. Everyone knows that. I don't want that. If you have taken the time to spend so much time on doing outreach and negotiating with me about what the topic should be and what should we cover in the topic, and follow up and following up again and again with me, then at least spend some time on that content piece, so that not only I'm excited about accepting it, but maybe I refer you to someone else who would like such high quality guest posts. So I think that's another problem which I think a lot of the time SEO guys have with regards to running guest posts. Okay. So I think that's it for today for this episode. I hope that I have helped you understand how I see digital PR and SEO, what makes them similar, what are some common similarities, what are some common differences, and also what are some top strengths of each of these strategies, and what are some common weaknesses of both of these strategies. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions about this topic or any other related topic. See you on the next episode of SIA Business Podcast.